Hi, I'm Dan,
And I'm Hits.
and welcome to Bandwagon's Recent Record Reviews, our first ever on video. So, we're the editors of Bandwagon, and we decided to step away from our laptop screens.
But not really.
We've decided to take away all our mindless office conversations and put it in front of the camera. So, we'll just be basically talking about records and whether we like them or not, and we'll definitely like to invite you guys to share with us what you think down in the comments section. So first off today we'll be talking about Grimes, Floating Points, and Beelzebud.
Nice.
So let's start off with Grimes. Hit.
Yes, of course I'm going to
Yeah.
start off with Grimes because everyone knows I love Grimes. Like, I really, really love Grimes. I got to hang out with her one time.
Yeah.
Still the highlight of my life.
So jealous.
Yeah, I don't think anything will ever top that. She's been my phone
Oh
screensaver.
shit!
Yeah.
You gotta show it to them.
She's been my phone screensaver for 4 years through 3 different phones. That's how much I love Grimes. If she had made like the best record in the world, I would still have been disappointed. That's how much I want to love this record.
Right.
Right. And I feel like a lot of people have similarly high expectations, which is where the reception to this album went wrong.
Right.
Upon first listen, I was so confused. In fact, even before first listen, like when she put out singles like Go and Reality, they were so vastly different. So nobody knew what to expect. And when I was listening to it, I still didn't know what I was listening to. It was so confusing. And I hated it initially because of that, because I didn't get it. But I felt like the hatred for that album, on my end, was a lazy response to being confused.
Right.
Because like you tend to not like what you don't understand.
So when you're confused, you're more angry because you were confused, like you couldn't understand what
I couldn't understand. Yeah, I couldn't understand why this wasn't like Visions. This wasn't even like
Right.
Go. This wasn't like anything I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Like in the world.
That's a very casual response, especially to a very different album.
Indeed, and it's just magnified by my
Expectations.
It's nuts how much I wanted to like this album.
That's true.
But after a few listens, I began to warm up to it.
Yeah.
I really liked the single with Aristophanes,
Yeah.
the Taiwanese rapper. I thought the first single was okay, but the more I listened to it, the more I started to get her direction. I got what she was going for. I got her vibe. I still have issues with her execution because I thought it was sloppy. It wasn't cohesive.
Yeah.
It was a mess of an album, but it was a glorious mess. It sounded gigantic.
Yeah.
It was blown away. Whereas Visions was introspective and minimalist, this was large to the extreme. It was maximalist.
Yeah.
And she was going nuts with this. This was her breaking out of her shell. I appreciate that to an extent, but at the same time, I still think it's a weak album because it wasn't cohesive.
Yeah.
And the execution to her wild concept wasn't there. What do you think?
Definitely agree. Overall, I still think it's a very weak album because I was a big fan of Visions when it came out.
Sure.
What kind of drawn me in was the fact that she kind of created this unique world of sounds. But then it was pretty clear to me that she was still a pop artist, lah. So this still felt like something that she would do, especially since that she released the song Go that was meant for Rihanna, and then she released Reality. So it kind of pointed to where she was gonna go with it. But at the same time, I was still quite taken aback with like just how far out and at the same time very familiar the sounds are. Because especially like she starts incorporating all these millennial pop sounds, like especially this whole pop rock guitar sound that kind of drives a lot of the songs, like especially Kill V Name. And
But a lot of 90s pop as well.
yeah, exactly. So the thing is, what my issue is that she doesn't own the sounds that she has on the album. Like she introduces all the sounds which are familiar, and she tries to recontextualize, or maybe she doesn't. I might be wrong, but I think that's where she kind of feels, because it still feels like it's not part of her world. She's trying to create this big ass world, like you say, it's maximalist, but it just sounds like she just took all these songs together and just splattered them all throughout all these songs. But at the same time, it feels like there was no clear general direction, and that's why some of the songs were good, but some of the songs were awfully weak, and sometimes even a bit cringe-inducing, I feel.
Right.
Yeah.
So that being said, what did you like about the album? Like, which songs do you like?
California, surprisingly, even though it's like, I know it's a song up for contention as a lot of people hate it, but
I agree. I love California. It's one of my highlights of the album.
It's simple, it's catchy, and I think it encapsulates how pop should be in a way where it's simple enough and catchy enough, and it doesn't need to pack in so much into one song.
Right.
It's just I'm sure like the song is just generally about her distaste about California itself,
for sure,
or maybe her conflicting emotions. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I mean like I was able to get that within like the 3 minutes of the song with a really catchy hook, and her voice wasn't irritating as what a lot of people are saying. So I think that's fine. Reality, Flesh Without Blood are great. Venus Fly is my favorite, definitely, with Janelle Monáe, mainly because, you know, just the amount of the contemporary sound that she involves inside, while still actually making it a big ass grime song.
Right.
Like, this is something that I know is grime because it's so weird but so modern.
Right.
And it's something which, when I hear it, I'm like, oh, okay, it's grime.
Nice.
Whereas if I hear like QV Name or even like the title track, after a while, I'm not even sure what she's doing also.
Sure.
So like with this, she really knew how to incorporate Janelle Monáe inside, even though it doesn't really sound like what Janelle Monáe usually do in albums.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really just a string of hit and misses for me lah. Really.
Absolutely. I agree with most of your points, except I love Kill V Meme.
Oh.
mainly because of its story. It's
Yeah.
about a transgender vampire who happens to be Al Pacino's character from The Godfather. It's insane. That's how insane the whole album is. It's just like a small microcosm of how insane this album is. And it's just... I don't know what to think. I hated it at first. I like it a lot more now.
Yeah.
Like a lot more now. But I still not want to.
Yeah.
Bottom line, what do you feel about how to rate this album?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Definitely 6.10.
Yeah, I'll go with that. 6.10 sounds about right.
Yep.
It's a pass, I guess.
Yeah. I guess, but still disappointed. Okay, we'll be talking about our second album. Is a self-titled album called Beelzebud, and it actually comes from Singapore. So Beelzebud is essentially a duo based in the underground scene in Singapore, which kind of comprises of many different genres. So these musicians that are in the band, the guitarist is actually from Solarium, the shoegaze band in Singapore, and the drummer actually plays in a few bands. He plays for Tantra, he plays for Yumi, and now he plays for Beelzebud, essentially. So
yeah. All amazing bands, by the way.
Yeah, all really good bands who all of them put out really great albums. But essentially for Beelzebud, they've taken a more nihilist approach to their music. At the same time, there is not a lot of context that you can gather from their website or the cassette release that they've put out. Mainly because the only thing that is on their spine, other than some really gnarly black and white artwork, is a tree withers and suffers with the seasons, and we are no different. So obviously that's about mortality, but whatever else is about in the album, we're not too sure. All we know is that it's a set of extremely sludgy and heavy metal music. So it definitely sits in between like drone metal, something that Sano will put out, and let's just say something that Neurosis will put out as well.
Definitely.
But it's a lot more darker and more abrasive, and it has a bit of black and thrash metal elements as well. So definitely what caught me by surprise was just how long it is, despite it being 3 tracks. You have the first track, which runs just slightly over 9 minutes, the second one at about 11 minutes, and then the third one at 25. So obviously with that kind of length, you expect a lot of drudgery and just really long passages of instrumentation, but surprisingly they managed to kick it off well, and they have a few dynamic sessions. And they just managed to keep it interesting enough so that it doesn't feel too long as well, too long-winded. So I think what drew me into this album the most is that despite being a duo, they managed to carve themselves out a really large sound, and it sounds massive on record. So I even managed to see them live, and they do a really good job live as well. So yeah, what did you think about the album?
I love this album. This is like, of all the bunch that we're talking about today, this album is my favorite. It has this like stoner metal meets doom metal meets drone metal meets a weird Malay context to it because of like the traditional Javanese
towards the end
instrumentation to it. I love the sociological aspects of it. I like how large it sounds, and despite it being long, and Jahannam does this really well. Like it traps you like from the beginning. Even the slow part, it builds.
There are different passages where they definitely take you to different places, and it's interesting enough that it feels cohesive as well. Right.
And like the ominous atmosphere, I really dug it. It's just like, and then it allows you into a sense of complacency
towards the end,
and then like it freaking smacks you on the head with like glorious sound and fury and noise, and like it just pounds you, and then like out of nowhere Japanese music comes in, like this wayang kulit stuff towards the end of the last track. It was pretty amazing.
If anything, that this album takes a lot of the elements of post-rock where it takes you to different places musically, but
it's a nice journey to it, right?
It's a nice journey, but it removes any sense of hope that comes with, like, let's just say, an Explosions in the Sky record.
Oh no, it's not a hopeful record at all.
It's extremely dark. it's gloriously evil,
right,
album. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I felt the torment, but it's the kind of torment that turns into bliss after a while.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You have to check this record out. It's the best.
Yeah. Okay, so if you had to give it a score, what would you rate it out of 10?
I love this album as much as I love the Tantra album, and I love that one a lot. So I'm gonna give this a 9 because I feel like all the darkness and all the disparate elements, they work well tonally.
Yeah.
Even the traditional Balinese stuff. So it's definitely my favorite of the records that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
I love it. Please check it out.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'll be giving it a 7 over 10, mainly because while they did a very good job trying to bring forth that doomy, sludgy sound, I still felt the production held it back a bit, and at the same time, some of the musical passages could have been paced out a bit better. But overall, the ideas really digging in, especially like what you said, the wine kulit part, and I'm really looking forward to what else they have to put out.
A band with a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we'll be talking about Floating Points' new album called Elaenia.
Nice.
Yeah, I really love this album, and just to give you guys some context, Floating Points is Sam Shepard. He is one of the driving forces behind Igloo Records. I've personally seen him DJ a few times. He's a great disco DJ, and he does like a lot of deep cuts from hip hop. Really amazing DJ. He's been a producer for an incredibly long time. So it's surprising that this is his first LP.
How long exactly?
Like about 8 years, I think.
Oh, almost a decade already.
I'm not
and he finally puts out an album.
Finally puts out an album. Like there've been a lot of EPs, a lot of singles lately, and I've enjoyed them all.
Yeah.
And this is his first like proper document, and I was eager to sink my teeth into it, and I wasn't disappointed. This is an incredible debut LP from an incredible producer. It's graceful, it's risky, it's sophisticated. It's unpredictable with its arrangements, and it doesn't feel carefully sequenced like a lot of electronic records do. It's the surprises that you find in between that really won me over. It's a wonderful journey through loud and quiet passages, and I feel like he's at the peak of his powers here. I've seen him DJ, as I mentioned, and he is a wonderful he's a wonderful hip hop and disco DJ. But this is where he really steps away from the dance floor. This is a dance music record for audio nerds.
Right. Yeah.
What did you think about it?
I totally agree actually. I think what really set me aback was the fact that it was so carefully dynamic, the whole album. At the same time, I felt like the sound itself that he had for the album, which was like kind of like a mixture of like jazz instrumentation and electronic music, definitely brings me back to, I would say, like the mid 2000s when Ninja Tune was just pushing out all these records by Imon Tobin, Cinematic Orchestra. So it definitely just has that vibe, which is it's gracefully down tempo lah, definitely.
Sure.
And but because he has that sound, what he does so well is that he manages to write this entire album, which feels like an entire journey, like a lot of like great albums. And at the same time, you can definitely pick out these songs that you can just listen to on their own. But I think definitely my favorite is the centerpiece, which is Silhouettes 1, 2, and 3.
Same.
That is brilliant piece of music, considering that it follows from the first track, which was a strictly electronic track. So from there, it just follows into like this miasma of jazz instrumentation that's just swirling around the mix, and it's just so pretty lah, really.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous album, and it makes sense because he was classically trained. He was trained in jazz. He's actually a neuroscientist for some reason. I'm not sure. But it all plays into the intellectualism of his music.
I think he's definitely not the first, like considering you have Fortet and Caribou, who are both academically inclined, and they've definitely touched into traditional instruments. So
it's a very nerdy approach to
electronic music. I think that out of all like the albums and all of all these artists, this is definitely the most I would say ambient based, I guess, because all these other albums could still kind of blend in well with the dance floor, especially like There Is Love in You or Caribou's Our Love album that came out last year. But
this will kill a dance floor.
Yeah, but this is different. This is definitely more for the concert hall.
Right. Yeah. This works. This works fine for what it is.
Yeah.
It's meant to be on headphones, not on the floor.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic album. You all should listen to it.
Yeah.
How would you rate it?
Definitely an 8.10 because I felt that even as I didn't know about the producer, this definitely felt as a definitive statement of an artist itself.
Yep.
And he was able to go through all these different genres and styles together and create this album. While not for the dance floor, like you said, it's something that you can definitely digest as a whole and take to so many places. You can play it in your room, you can play it on the car, you can play it in public transport. It's an album that blends itself into the environment very well. and in that way creates a brand new experience every time you listen to it.
Oh, for sure. I agree. I would rate this 8 out of 10 as well. I thoroughly enjoyed this album, and I think you all should listen to it. I'm gonna echo everything that Dan said. He's on points with floating points. This is a wonderful album.
Yep. And that's all we have for today. Thank you very much for watching. If there are any albums you'd like us to review, do put it in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe. So this will be the first of many album reviews we'll be putting out, so do stay tuned and let us know what you think.
Peace.